Hello, everybody on YouTube and TikTok and Twitch and Twitter. Hey, everybody. Thank y'all for joining. Give it a couple minutes. We're going to let everybody come in, and hopefully she will be on shortly. I just was texting with her. We are also going to attempt to stream this on YouTube as well. So I am logged in, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So I sent her the link for that as well. But I'm very excited to have the SoJo Files on. This is a case that you guys had wanted me to talk about for a while, and I never really had a chance to because it's so convoluted. But her work, what she did today, getting this horrific woman arrested is really quite incredible, right? So, I actually was not on YouTube yet. Now I'm on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. So hopefully she'll be on in a minute. We can chat until then. And she is having the day that she deserves. So we'll give it a few minutes here. Well, thank you guys all for coming over from there. That's awesome. I appreciate the support. Heard on the crazy state there's new news. I haven't seen really anything new on the Idaho, but that's not necessarily untrue. I just haven't seen it yet. YouTube channel is the same name on here. It's at Justin on TikTok. Yeah, hold on. I can't respond to her, but yes. Hold on, I gotta put you on hold for a second. All right, trying to get this back up. All right, sorry about that. I had to text her back. I told her that I was live now, and yeah, I am too. I'm so glad we got in touch as well. So if I look over here, I'm talking to the YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter space. And if I'm looking over here, I'm talking to you guys on TikTok, just so you're aware. Anyway, she should be on any minute. I really don't know a lot about the case. I'm going to let her do most of the talking. We're talking with the SoJo Files tonight. She did some incredible work. Baxter is something right now. He's just, something. So anyways, I'm going to let her do most of the time because I'm kind of ignorant on the case, but I have a larger following on TikTok, and so wanted to open my channel up to her as well. Because, yes, it did just start. In fact, our guest isn't even here yet. He still is flying. So where are you better off here or YouTube? It's really personal preference. Some people prefer the TikTok layout. I can tell you that YouTube is typically a lot more chill. Comments don't fly as quickly, so if you have a question, it's more likely to be seen. So it just would depend on what you want to do. Not SoJo, and she is the SoJo Files is a creator. She's been working very hard on a case. When she gets here, I'll let her explain it. It's pretty spectacular what she's done. Let me see if she's on yet. Nope, not yet. I don't want to steal her thunder, so you guys will have to just bear with me in the meantime. Did Baxter find his way out of the shower? Yes, thank you. It's my Nashville hat. Absolutely. I'm glad to be able to utilize. I like to utilize my platform for good things, and I think this is a very good thing. Tell you about my poster. So the room, for those of y'all who have never been in one of my lives before, the room that I do a lot of this in is literally a home theater. So there's a movie screen, 100-inch movie screen in front of me, and behind me I have 3 posters for some of the movies I like. I have Eurotrip, Ferris Bueller, and Back to the Future. And mainly I have Back to the Future because I have a DeLorean, so I kind of have to. So, anyways, for those of y'all who are new here, that's what that's about. Yes, I'm very excited too. I can't wait for her to get here. She's not here yet, but anyway, so just be patient. We'll get there. We can just kind of chat in the meantime. Well, hello, Emmy. Hopefully you're feeling better. I think Baxter's coming back up. We'll see how he's been insane. Hey, buddy. You come up here? Come on. Come here. You having issues? Come here. If you come up here, you can sit in my lap. Come on. You guys can see Baxter. Come here. Come on, buddy. There he goes. This is Baxter. Baxter is a little high right now. SoJo runs on SoJo's time. Who is coming? Missed the last couple of days. Well, this was kind of a spur of the moment thing, Jessica. This is SoJo Files. The little girl in the picture. So on YouTube, I have a picture of Olivia up. So this is Olivia Soto, and she was murdered, basically, and I will say allegedly for the sake of us not getting sued by her mother. The SoJo Files is a creator who worked very diligently on a case that a lot of people didn't. Here she is on here. I see her there. I'll bring her in here. Hey. Hold on. Okay, I had the volume muted here because I was going to do it on TikTok, but I can turn it up for the moment. And I don't see you on TikTok yet.
I just went live on TikTok.
Oh, there you are. Okay, cool. I'm going to invite you, and I'm going to. Yay! Thank you for coming. Thank you for allowing me to host this. I know that I don't know a lot about the case. That's kind of what I was explaining to them, that this was kind of your baby, but it was something that needed awareness, and I wanted to offer my platform up for that. And also for anybody who's coming in late, I will say this, and we can talk about this later. It is on YouTube as well. So you can either go over there too if you want, or you can watch it later if you have to log out and miss something. It'll still be live. It'll still be on YouTube. Shit saved. So I will just kind of let you take it because this is your baby. You did amazing work. They're saying it's echoing over there. Hopefully it's not echoing anymore. I think it was just a second ago. Anyway.
So, first off, thank you for having me on and for allowing me to discuss this on your platform, because the more people that know, the more people can help us fight for justice in this case. And this is a case that it's one of those rare cases where you actually can make a difference. I mean, I know that there's lots of cases that people get invested in, but this is one where the attention on this case actually is what empowers this case, because it's a case that involves corruption. In my opinion, involves corruption. It involves the unaliving of an innocent 2-year-old, and it involves the framing of an innocent man, and it's a case that no one talked about. And the good news is today, the mother of the victim in this case, the victim is Olivia Soto, the mother in this case, she took a deal for permitting child abuse. And who she was permitting other than herself, I don't know, but she took a deal and got no time. And she was not out on her deal very long before she got arrested again for felony theft. And then she went to the parole office and went on the run. So she's been on the run for just over a year, but the podcast and social media made a lot of noise about this case. And the good news is she just got picked up last night by the U.S. Marshal Services. And so she's in custody, and
Which is
the
amazing.
case is wild. It's crazy. I love that she got picked up. And, really, the system has its flaws, and the people that we elect to put in charge of our system are so important because they're in charge of running our system, representing our community, our society, for the morals and ethics that we want in our community. And Crawford County just got a new elected prosecutor, and his name is Kevin Holmes, and he's only been the prosecutor for 47 days. And he's the one that made this happen. He heard about this case, being that he lives there, and really he's the one that didn't have to do anything. He could have heard about this case and been like, that was before me, not my problem. Like, he could have just ignored it, but instead he saw injustice, and he represented the community which elected him and did the right thing. And that gives me faith. It restores faith for me in our criminal justice system to see an elected official that has morals and ethics and honor and says, hey, this is wrong and I'm going to make it right and do something, when he didn't have to. And I think that's incredibly honorable and can't be understated. I mean, he didn't have to care about this case, and he did. And so I just think that that's huge, and I think that that's cannot say enough good things about seeing an official do the right thing. Like, it's such a simple concept, but we really don't see it all the time. So,
No, especially in this type of
I
a world, a lot of times it's easier to there's a lot of missing people out there. There's a lot of murdered people that never get justice at all. So for somebody to take the time to do it is huge, especially when she's already been she tried to frame. So is she in trouble just for murder, or is she in trouble also for framing?
okay, so
Or I guess
um,
what has she been picked up on? I guess let's start maybe there. Or they're saying on
what
my
did you
side
get
to
picked?
people who don't. Sorry, I don't mean to be like all over the place. The people on my side are saying
No,
start with. I guess they don't understand what the case is about, and I know that it's convoluted. But if you had to give just a brief introduction to people who have never heard of it, how would you? What would you want to say on that?
November 2018 um, started out like any other day, and ended up crazy. Basically, um, 2-year-old Olivia Soto was brutally murdered that day, and Jordan, the innocent man that was framed and charged and put on trial, he was acquitted, thank God. But basically, he started his morning like a normal morning, and um, his girlfriend, Eva, the mother of Olivia Soto, she was egging him to come home. Like, he was with friends, and he needed to take a friend home. And she's like, well, come home first. And he forgot a card that was supposed to be with the friend. And so he was like, fine, I'll kill two birds with one stone. I'll go home and get this card. Anyways, when he goes back to the house, she all of a sudden finds her daughter Olivia Soto, and Jordan calls 911. He calls 911 again. It's frantic. He takes the friends back to the house. He's thinking that he's thinking that Olivia's fine. He wasn't thinking that the situation was really the situation that it was. And when he gets back, he pops everywhere. What's going on? And they're like, can we take you down to the station? He says, okay. Lets them search his phone, his car, the house. He's like, I don't have anything to hide. And next thing you know, he's being charged with unaliving a 2-year-old. And the case is very complicated. I think that watching the interrogation tapes is very telling. I believe if we watched like a clip of, if you went to, I don't know if it's part 3 or part 4, but about 19 minutes, 19 minutes into part 3 or part 4 of Eva Millard's interrogation tapes, you see the police mishandling in the middle of her interrogation. So it starts off bad and it only gets worse. And the crazy thing is, Jordan gets acquitted and she takes a plea deal for permitting child abuse, which makes no sense. And she was not out on her conditioned release, but 2 months when she gets arrested for felony theft, which is obviously a violation of her conditions of her release. And Jordan did not know this at the time, but found out she had a history of alleged child abuse and other felony charges. And so she's the one with the history. After she gets electronically booked in for committing another felony while she's on conditioned release, um, she makes
Hey,
a break for it.
I'll be right back because I'm going to go stop this dog from barking. He's
Okay.
he's 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 in, he's insane is what he is. I'll be
He's
right
like,
back. Keep going. Sorry.
um, basically, she got picked up on a petition to revoke warrant. So what that means is that she violated the terms and conditions of her supervised release, and so they wanted to revoke that. So they put a warrant out, and that warrant has been out for a year and no one did anything about it until the new prosecutor took over, and he saw the injustice and he made sure that she got picked up on that petition to revoke warrant. And that is where we are now. Now, I know that's a weird summary and everyone's probably like, what? But it's because it's basically Casey Anthony meets Making a Murderer combined. And the story is quite just convoluted and multi-layered, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions about it. And I'm sure there will be a lot. Maybe Justin can pull up a clip from YouTube to show you guys, to kind of give you an idea of just how crazy things are.
Yeah, we could do that. And for those of y'all who want more information, you have a podcast.
Yes.
So you can, in your podcast, you have several episodes on this, so you can go listen and check it out. If you're just coming in, this is also on YouTube. YouTube saves lives, so you can, not like saves lives, but saves live events. So you can go back in and actually start it all the way back in the beginning if you want to see this live and learn a little bit more, just to let y'all know. But yeah, we could probably pull something up. Where would you want me? Is it your YouTube channel?
Yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, then you will see the interrogation tapes. I can send you the link. Let's see here. Let me email this to you.
All right. I think I just found you. Oh, I found your podcast. And then I see your Murdoch stuff. I'll let you send me.
So I have two podcasts. I've got the Situation and the SoJo Files. And so the SoJo Files is where we do a really in-depth, deep look at criminal cases. So, you know, the Situation, we have these quick overviews of cases that are going on. But with the SoJo Files, it's very in-depth, very detailed. If you've ever watched a true crime documentary and you wish you had more, I wish I'd seen that legal doc, or I wish they had talked more about this. That's what we do on the SoJo Files. And so with the Shreve case, I have the best co-host in the world, and that is Chad Atwell, who is a lawyer, but also happens to be one of the lawyers that represented Jordan in this case, alongside Chris and Laura Carwile, brother and sister. And so the three of them defended Jordan Shreve, and you get a very in-depth look at this case, but you get to hear from Jordan himself. You get to hear from his ex-wife, Pam. You get to hear secret tapes that his mom recorded between her and Eva. You get to hear from me, the whole defense team. So it's really an in-depth and detailed look at this case, and that's what this case really needs. So if anyone's interested in this case, they can go to the SoJo Files podcast and listen to season 2, or they can go to YouTube and watch the videos. And I do highly recommend, for anyone that thinks they might be interested, to watch the interrogation tapes, because the mannerisms that you will see are quite telling. How many times her story changes are quite telling. And I think that there's a lot to be learned with the interrogation tapes.
The dogs are back. It's normally not this insane with them, but they're wound up tonight. Hi, buddy. So as you can see, he's a nut. But yeah, I can show the tapes on. I can probably turn this around to show y'all, but it's on YouTube. I can show what we have pulled up here. Let me see what I can do with this. Bear with me. I'm still kind of learning StreamYard. Okay, so that's what we have on StreamYard. I have that up. That's what you look like on this, but you probably can see that. So we can go to share screen window. I do love. I'll even get us out of it. I'll make it full screen, and we'll go full on cinema layout for them. And I probably think I need to unmute it, I guess. All right, there we go. We're there. All right, so we can show this to them.
What was that?
The no? Anyway, that's beside the point. That's boy. That's not plural. That's boy.
And that's the only one?
Yeah.
That's just something that you see.
All right, so that's...
So this clip is so important for several reasons. One, the man that you see in that video, he was an officer at the time, and you see him clearly mishandling evidence. So there was evidence. First off, he identifies the evidence. We've got this wipe in the trash. And she says, "Can I see it?" And he says yes, and he brings it in, and he pulls it out of a trash bag. One, that shows how the evidence was improperly collected. It should have been photographed, bagged, and tagged at the crime scene, but instead it was left in this trash bag, and it clearly should have gone straight from the crime scene to the evidence locker, which it didn't. So it clearly was not collected properly because it wasn't photographed, bagged, and tagged on scene. And then it didn't go straight to the evidence locker. It's also not reflected on the chain of custody. But he brings this evidence into the room and shows it to her. Why? But here's the kicker. That man just was elected the sheriff of Crawford County. So as of January 1st, that man you see mishandling evidence is the sheriff of Crawford County. If that doesn't scare people, I don't know what will.
Well, there's a lot of corruption in small town law enforcement. Another big case that shows that is the Murdoch murders. So,
it's one of the things. The collection of evidence is so important because that is your entire case. So there's no room for error when you're processing a crime scene or when you're collecting evidence, because you only get a crime scene once, which means you have to photograph that. You need to film it. You need to catalog everything. You need to get as much as you can to preserve it. I would say that, for example, they're the historians of crime, so to speak, because they're the ones that are making a record that's going to be used later on. And so failures to record and collect everything properly has substantial consequences. And here in this case, things were not collected properly, and that shows. Some things weren't collected at all. And, not only did that help frame an innocent man, but it also helps the real killer get away, because people decided that they didn't want to do their jobs to the standards in which our society has set for them. I mean, these are people that are supposed to serve and protect our community. So we do have standards for them, and we expect those standards to be upheld. Just as they expect us to uphold the law, or there's going to be consequences, we expect them to uphold their part, or there's going to be consequences. And in this case, there's been no consequences except for an innocent 2-year-old that was unalived and an innocent man that was framed for it. And so all the wrong people are having to suffer as a result of failures on part of our criminal justice system. And I don't like to see that. I don't think anyone should like to see that.
I'm so sorry. It is not typically this chaotic with them. This is an abnormality, and I don't know what.
Dogs run the world, or at least over here. So it doesn't bother me at all.
Well, he's insane. So that's part of, he really is. He's just a nut. Anyways. So yeah, I missed a lot of that, but I'm sure we're talking about the corruption, and I heard you talk about the crime scene. I'm not going to make you repeat all that. I can go back and watch it, but now people should be caught up. So first, is Chad coming on? Did he decide whether he was going to or not? I mean, he's fine either way, but
let me text him real quick, because Chad is absolutely fantastic. I cannot brag enough about him. I would like to preferably do it where he can't hear how much I think of him, how highly I think of him. But I'll brag on him publicly.
You got to say it before he gets on.
He represented Jordan, so he has spent I think 5 years fighting for justice here. And the thing that's great, and I think what speaks volumes, is that Chad's part's done. He represented him. Jordan was acquitted, and he doesn't have to do anything else with this case. But because of how corrupt it was and because of the injustice, Chad continues to, out of the kindness of his heart, discuss this case, to fight for justice, because there's a very broad picture here that needs to be addressed that affects everyone. And so, him and we get into the trenches on this case because, as you said, it's very complicated and there's a lot to get into. But at the end of the day, what people need to realize is that there was a 2-year-old that was murdered that no one seemed to care was murdered except for the defendant and the defense. Like at trial, because I went to trial, the only one that said her name, the defense. The only ones still fighting for justice, the defense and the defendant. So I think that speaks volumes about this case. And I think that needs to be noted when people are thinking about this case and how it's presented, and think about it in the totality of the circumstances, so to speak.
How did this case catch your attention? Like what about it made it speak to you?
This is an interesting story. So I had been on vacation, and there were some complications with the flight, and I'd been on flights all day, and I just got home. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I get this text message. And at the time, people knew that I was going to start a podcast. And this message was like, you need to be in Van Buren at the courthouse tomorrow at 8 a.m. And I was like, why? And they said, there's a case that I think that you will want to do on the podcast. You should go attend the trial and see if you want to do it. And it's 10:30 at night and I'm tired. And I'm like, what's the case? And they send me some news articles. And like most people that Google this case, I was like, guy, drugs, kills girlfriend's daughter. I was like, why do they want me to go to this case? And I kind of gave them a hard time. I was like, why do you want me to go to this case? But the person that sent it to me, I'll say, is not typically someone that would send me a case like that. And so because of who sent it to me and because of the respect that I have for the person that sent it to me, I said, okay, well, send me some legal docs and I'll see. So they sent me some legal docs, and I see that there was an illegal search. I see that cops told the news that he fled, and that the big break in the case was them being able to locate him and arrest him. And then here's all the proof from the police files that they knew where he was the whole time, and they lied to the media to present their narrative. And then they admitted to it at court that they lied. And so I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I started seeing a lot of things just from the legal docs that I did not like. And so I was like, damn. And they said you should text, the defense attorney and, see if he'll talk to you. And I was like, well, okay. So at midnight, I was like torn. I was on the edge. I was like, listen, if he texts me back, I will make the trek tomorrow morning. I'll stay up all night reading these legal docs. I'll make the trek in the morning to trial. And I was like, no way. This lawyer is going to text me back at midnight before court. And he did. And he said something to the effect of, come find out the truth, come attend trial. And I was like, damn, I guess I'll be there. Hi, Carrie.
I was going to say, do you want to, Wants to? Do you want to bring Carrie in? If she wants to, we can try to force her into it.
We'll see
That's
if we can talk
that's up,
Carrie into it.
that's up to you. Let me see. We can try. See if we can invite
I
her.
don't know how
No,
to add.
no, it's You know what? I don't either because we're both in separate lives as opposed to doing a guest thing, which I don't know if I want to because I like you having equal screen. So I don't know how to do that.
I don't. Oh, she says she's in the bed. She says she's in the bed. She'll jump on for 5. Come hang, Carrie.
Get her, get her.
I,
I don't know if it'll let, but we can try. Well, hold on. I can invite host. There it goes. Uh, well,
let's see.
if it gets on.
It says
If you click the host thing's grayed out for me at the bottom, but I think you can still if you click it, yeah, you can still do it. So if she comes on, or
okay.
either one of us, I guess, could do it. I'm mutuals with her too.
Well, either way, it doesn't matter who gets her on here. I hit invite. I'm trying to find her um on here since she said she's got 5 minutes to celebrate with us. Let's
I,
see.
I've been dying to do a live with Carrie. We just were never able to make it happen.
I love Carrie. I have a girl crush on Carrie and how she's just, the Dolly Parton of the law in the South. So, and listen, Carrie is from Crawford County, so she's been around for this case since the beginning, and yeah, I'd love to have her on here. We'll see if
She gets on, yeah, yeah. She is great. She really is. Like I love her content. I've been following with her for a long time. I think before she followed me back, and I kind of was like, I kind of had like a fangirl thing about that too. So I get it.
Well, I tell you what, she's even better in person than she is on TikTok. So,
Oh,
um, it's an honor to know her. But and hopefully she'll get on here. She said she had 5 minutes, so we'll see if she hops on here. But yeah, I went down there. I ended up going down there. I stayed up all night reading the legal docs. Left my house at like the ass crack of dawn to go attend this trial, and all I had was the legal docs. So I go in, and day one, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and they weren't presenting a case. The prosecution wasn't presenting a case. I was like, what? Day two, I was like, I don't think this guy did this. Like, I really don't think this guy did it. By day 3, I was like, oh my God, if they convict this guy, I'm going to be sick to my stomach. Like, this is horrible. This guy very clearly didn't do it. This guy is obviously innocent. And I started to get sick about it because it's something I haven't felt that way since the West Memphis 3 case. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with that, but I hadn't felt that way since the West Memphis 3 case. And so I was very emotionally invested and unwell about the fact that I truly believed that this guy was innocent, and I was worried that he might get convicted for something he didn't do. And then by day 4, I'm like, but you know what? It did not take 45 minutes for the jury to come back and say not guilty.
Guys, I wasn't lying. I was in bed.
Well, we're honored to have you.
yeah, I've been trying to get a live with you forever, so I'm glad that finally.
So I had just quit doing lives because I don't have time at the office and my house Wi-Fi just does not work.
Yeah.
But SoJo and I have done 2 the past little bit, or 3, and it's not been bad. Can y'all hear me okay?
I hear you
Yes.
perfectly.
So, little known fact, did y'all know? So my story, that I got involved with this. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over.
Please.
But Chad called me, I think the day he first met with Jordan, and he was like telling me the situation, and he goes, I don't know if they're going to arrest him. So I had kind of been almost working on it with him, brainstorming. That's what Chad and I do a lot. And I was at a basketball game of one of my kids, and I get, it's 7:38. It was really cold. So was that February, SoJo? And Chad and I live about an hour apart. And Chad said, get to the jail. They've arrested Jordan. I don't know where they've taken him. They know I'm his lawyer, so they shouldn't question him. You shouldn't have to continue to reassert your rights if it's the same issue. And he said, you got to go find him. They're going to question him. And I went to the jail, I think, first, and that's when I found out he wasn't there. I think they knew because they knew I would head there. Then I went to the Van Buren PD, and they wouldn't let me back through. So I literally get to the door and I'm banging on the door. I was like, Jordan, tell them you're, because where the jail cell area, because it's not a jail, it's just the PD, and so they just have like maybe what you'd call a drunk tank. And finally, I hear,
say nothing.
Yeah, I was. The next day, I could feel where I had been pounding on the door because I just wanted Jordan to hear me, because people get Harper, we had to go down to Children's today. She had some tests. I don't Kinsley, she'll be back to school tomorrow. But that's when I'm not even, come, and I hear the door click, 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 and opens the door. I'm like, I'm here for it. And then, so anyways, it was late. It was like, ended up being 9, but got him and, basically said, get out of here. I don't take kindly to that crap when they have an attorney. Anyways, he was very smart, didn't say anything. But that's my start of the Shreve saga. He's a great guy.
He really is. And that's what makes me sad, is that through covering this case, you get to really know people, because you have to know so many details about their lives to accurately cover this. But I had asked Jordan, hey, you got acquitted. We could never do a podcast on this. You could go basically start a new life and not have to worry about this anymore. Or if you are okay with it, I would like to do a podcast on this case and try to get exposure for this case and the wrongdoings. And he said, I want justice for Olivia. So if I need to relive all of this in the public eye again, if people want to not like me or judge me, whatever, I will do what it takes to try to get justice for Olivia. So I'm okay to do it. And you have to think about that. He's willing to be ridiculed and judged by all of these people and relive the worst moments of his life in a last-ditch effort to try to get justice for Olivia Soto. And I think that says a lot about him, because most people would be like, nope, I've already him back, just leave me here.
And yeah, so, and people had asked that, I saw in a live before, like, he has given us full reign to talk about his story. And that's the thing with Jordan, is like, as a lawyer, sometimes you're like, don't tell me everything. Jordan always maintained the exact same story. He, the parts that weren't pretty, the parts that, so much of with clients, a lot of times they are innocent, but there is a part of their story that is something they don't want to tell. And sometimes that is what law enforcement attached to is, well, they lied about this. And that's the thing. Jordan seriously never lied about anything. And when he left that day, law enforcement could never put themselves in his place, where what I do, I completely understood, like, is that what I would have done? You have to get out of what you would have done, because, we're all so different. And I think he got put in a box within minutes of law enforcement arriving on the scene, and they never were willing to take him out of that box.
I mean, the thing about it too is, like, he was so honest. Most people, like you said, they would have lied to leave out certain aspects that don't make them look good. And he was like, I have nothing to hide. Here's my phone. Here's my car. Search the house. Here's what I did today. The good, the bad, the ugly. Here's what I did today. And he's like, you can say and judge whatever, but I never hurt that child. I've never heard anyone ever. And he meant that. And he was completely dumbfounded that they would even think that he could do such a thing. And he is begging them to listen. He's like, I don't know. And he tells the same story for 7 hours. Never changes it once. It's 7 hours. She can't tell the same story twice in 5 minutes. And that's for everyone to see for themselves on the interrogation tapes on YouTube.
Yes, and do it. And so, I mean, she is arrested because of SoJo and Kevin Holmes. I mean, really, like, I hope nobody questions. Like, I don't know if Justin, is she trying to act like this? Like, this is because of her. And I hope nobody, like, U.S. Marshals weren't out there walking the streets of California. That was all her and our new prosecutor, and that was their goal, that they were going to get Eva back in Crawford County, and she will be on her way soon. So I'm proud of both of them.
Yeah,
I
didn't know much about the case, but her, Sojo and I have been talking a little bit, and when I went into her live today and saw the arrest, and I'm like, I don't know a lot about this case. I can't speak like intelligently about it, but you're welcome to have my platform because I have a lot of people. So I was like, come talk about it, bring awareness, because it's obviously just the beginning at this point, the beginning of the end. So I guess now I am invested, and we'll make sure that we continue to spread that awareness.
It may be the middle of the middle. I mean,
middle?
If there's a great news article, and Kevin Holmes, makes it known that he believes, and SoJo believes, who did this. And so that's where you at right now on the podcast. I think there's still a lot of truth that's going to come out, and I think all roads lead, in one direction. So we're going to see where this goes.
So the thing is, I was so hopeful. I had read all of these amazing things about Kevin Holmes, and everybody's like, he's an honest guy. He is someone that wants justice. He is very respectable. And so I was holding out hope, and I was like, maybe by the grace of God, this man will take office and want to do something about this case. And so with the podcast, we did this very in-depth look at all of day 8. We're almost done with day 8, and we're going to start day 9. So the podcast is just getting started too, because we are just about to wrap up the events of November 8th, 2018, and get into all the rest of the craziness. And the ironic thing is, Jordan got arrested today. So she got arrested yesterday, but the irony is Jordan got arrested today 5 years ago.
I remember old when and I can tell you where I was standing. I was literally, my daughter's basketball game was fixing to begin, and he was just like, I need you, sis. And I said, I'm headed there, Chatty. I'll be there. Yeah, lots on my end are talking about Kevin. Yes, he's doing a great job, and so many people are like, well, does that mean he's soft on crime if a defense attorney is supporting this prosecutor? And that's not, I live in this county. I got 3 kids in this county. That's not what defense attorneys want. I want a fair playing field. I want people to, understand the rules and the Constitution. And I've already had situations where Kevin said, yeah, that I feel like that could violate the 4th Amendment, and stuff like that. And that's all you want as a prosecutor. And so I've been very impressed. We're 6 weeks in, and it's been impressive. He's doing a good job.
Real quick, if I may, kind of off topic. Every once in a while, I have a very special person that comes into my live, and I don't know if he's left yet, but Joe Petito is in here. So
hi.
So I wanted to bring that up, and every time he comes in here, I always like to remind people too about the Gabby Petito Foundation, especially when we're talking about a case like this, because for those of y'all who aren't aware, he started one after she passed, after she was killed, so that other families don't have to feel. Yeah, he's still here, so he doesn't have to feel other families don't have to feel and go through what they went through. So I figured with him being here and what we're talking about, it would, he might, I don't know if he likes it when I call him out or not every time he comes in,
Well,
but he's he's an amazing person.
if he's still listening, so half my practice is criminal defense, the other half is about domestic work. And the amount of women that have come in that said, I never was going to leave my abusive relationship until Gabby Petito. And in no way, I don't know if that takes any solace, but I know from my end, we talk about it in the office all the time. I was like, that's somebody else who said, they got out because of the Gabby Petito case, and what she went through, and they felt like they were on the same trajectory. And it's no solace, but there are women, I think lives have been saved based upon the awareness and the public spotlight that got put on domestic violence and how sometimes it doesn't look like exactly what we see. And I think that's what it spotlighted so much. So we're so sorry for your loss, Joe.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yes.
that you have people coming in and find, because for a long time people don't want to leave. He said is a special girl. Thank you for the kind words. We won't stop for change.
That's exactly. I think you're well on your way.
So,
The voices are everything. Being silent, people don't realize the impact that it has on families. And I just think that talking about it is therapeutic for so many people and so many lives that you are helping that you don't even know. And I think that there's so much power in just being available to talk about something and being a voice for something. You help more people than you have any idea. And so, but yes, my thoughts and prayers to y'all, because.
And let me tell y'all this is a scary stat. In 2022, I represented more women charged with domestic battery, third degree, than men, 2-1. And almost every case was either reactive abuse or defending themselves. And when you are dealing with, say, a woman that's fighting against a man, the man to me ends up more with scratch marks, small blood marks, where a push, a hit, a knee, something to the stomach doesn't. And so 2-1, we were almost at 2-1 of women. And it's scary. Like, I think law enforcement, and I have a lot of law enforcement friends, but I just represented a lot of women in 2022 and already starting in 2020 that they were the ones that called 911. But women are, in general, nobody's, not everyone, but a lot of times women are more emotional. And when they call the police, the law enforcement gets there, a lot of times they're so upset still, they're not able to get their story out because of what has just happened to them. But we've had a lot of males that are like, see, I got a scratch on my face. And I mean, it's just been bad. But we have a really good district judge in our county and the few in Sebastian that I think are seeing through a lot. And they've been hard on some law enforcement, saying, we don't just arrest who has the red mark on their face. And not so much with Gabby Petito in the Moab, Utah.
He just brought up the LAPS program, which he's trying. Sorry, my dogs are insane tonight. Brought up the LAPS program. Let's let your elected officials know to get it basically. So for that, obviously, Joe, if you ever wanted, I don't know what you're able to do with everything you have going on, but if you ever want to come live and talk about that, it would be great. But basically, they just had a bill mostly passed in Utah. And I don't want to mess it up. You can look it up. I think it's just got to go through the Senate now, and then it's which is a formality. But basically, it's changing the way that Utah handles domestic abuse and domestic violence. And if more states can adopt it, it could possibly be adopted at a federal level. So it's one of those things where basically what it would do, if I understood it correctly, and he can correct me if I'm wrong here, is that, if you're in one part of the state and you called out for, a domestic violence, and then you're in another part of the state and get called out again, sometimes those systems don't communicate with each other.
Yeah.
This changes that, so the state that everything communicates with each other, so people will know kind of what they're getting into. So they got that passed in Utah. It's also my understanding that, so if you went back in I know that Joe has never fully watched the Moab tapes from that case, but if you go back and you watch that case when they come and start speaking to Gabby, he asked a question something along the lines of, I'm going to ask you a question, depending on how you answer this will determine the outcome, which is kind of threatening, especially for somebody who's.
It's not kind of.
Yeah, it is.
What he
Yeah,
was.
you're right. It is. And so there's 11 questions that'll help identify lethal situations, and apparently the way that they're worded isn't in a threatening manner. And so it doesn't seem anybody's going to be in trouble. It's more, and I don't know what those questions are. I don't know if he knows what those questions are, but he and we've had a conversation about it, and I mean it's great, and it's one of those things where
Yeah. I wouldn't want to watch it either if I wasn't. I mean, I've watched it a bunch, and I just want to scream every sign was there for them to know who the abuser was, and they either missed it over lack of training or idiocracy or a little of both, and it's sad.
Well, if y'all want to look at it, you just said.
If you want to get with me, we just got our bill passed on kind of what spurred from Josh Duggar changing the language CP to CSA. I don't want to get the live banned. I've not had any trouble saying it, but I don't want to do that to y'all. But I've got some really good legislators in this area that will get bills. We will draft them and get them up. So.
We can, if you want to, if y'all can get in touch, I think that would be great. Yeah. I mean, the whole family's doing amazing work. For an absolutely horrific situation, they've really taken that situation and done some amazing things with it.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So, I've got us off track, I think, and I'm sorry.
Sorry, I did too. He said I can give you her contact information, so I'll offline. I'll give you his phone number. Okay. You can text him or call him. He's really nice, and I would say that even if he wasn't here, but he's very nice. He's very.
I've been super impressed. He's very smart and intelligent. So
he is doing good work.
Chad, we were talking. I'm fixing to have to go, but we were kind of talking about just some nuances in Shreve before you jumped on.
Yeah, listen, I heard your recitation of facts, and I think we're at year.
Was it a lie?
No, it wasn't a lie. I have noticed over the years. I think instead of I was at the ball game, I think I am now hearing you say I was at the ball game. So I did want to point that out. But
at the ball game,
with just a softie, like et instead of at.
Oh.
Yeah.
At? Can I not et? E-T?
You're sliding deeper into Crawford County. That's okay. But yeah, I mean, it was 3 years ago. It's 3 years ago tonight, Carrie.
No.
Yeah. Look, and I know 19. The reason I called you because I was in between. Yep. SoJo pointed out, but I was in between Valentine's Day and my birthday. And so we had, my oldest is the same age that Olivia would be. And so this case has stuck with me for a lot of reasons, but also at the time then, we had a 2.5-year-old. So in between Valentine's Day and birthday, and there were plans, and I was like, they're not going to arrest you without a warrant. No way in hell they're going to do that. They'll call me first. And then my phone started blowing up. And then I called you and kids in the car and everything else. And you were like, well, hold on. I could metaphorically hear the skirrrr. And she was off. And it's good to have people in your life that will turn that car around with their kids in there and go do what ought to be done. And it was super impressive.
And I think it was because we all felt, we were invested at that point. I don't think we were expecting, what evidence that was coming out. You kind of know when there's an investigation and you've taken on a client. You take some clients, there's clients that call you hey, I've been arrested, I've got charged. Then the best cases are the ones where a client hires you before. And in that case, I remember for 2 to 3 months, I was like, Chad, there's no evidence to charge him. Not here. I think we had talked the day before about some stuff, maybe because he was coming in, and then he's arrested. I'm like, I just remember so cold because the Van Buren PD, there's a side door, and I remember when they wouldn't answer the main door. I mean, I was in the little 911 dispatch, and I remember walking around and it being so cold, and I was banging on that door, and then I walked back around and finally got in. So.
Yeah, you weren't gone very long, and then you called back, and you were like, I got this. And, of course, she did, because that's what she does, and I'm glad to have her phone number and that she is a friend, and I hope that goes both ways. And SoJo has kept this alive afterwards, and now we're here with Justin as well. So, it's a pretty massive confluence of events.
Yeah.
We can't understate the fact that he was no evidence against him, and all the evidence points one direction, and it's not towards Jordan. And so I just can't stress enough that just look at the facts and evidence of this case, and it's going to speak for itself.
And I always thought, and we probably can't get into it much, then I'm going to have to, I think the whole injury, the mechanism of injury, I think led them to believe it had to be a man. That's what I always thought. I think, no, that's what I'm saying. I think was the final, they'd already were so spotlighted on him. That's what they just needed one more. And I thought this took somebody stronger than Eva, which at that time, I mean, I think she would have been very strong, but that I've always thought, what we were talking about with Gabby's case, I think was almost the exact opposite in this case. I think they never looked at the female component. I mean, do you not think so, Chad? Like, I think they never looked at mom close enough.
Careful what you ask. Careful what you ask. No, I think that they had 3 years to actually do something that amounted to what people do with a law degree that prosecute cases, or what multi-millions of dollars in a police force have the ability to do. And I think that they didn't care. And I think that the prosecution of Jordan Shreve was a charade. And I think it's telling that the 2 uniformed officers on scene on November the 8th, 2018, put Eva's ass in the back of a cop car right out of the gate. They didn't pull her aside and wool her around and hug her. They put her in the back of the cop car where she can't get out. So I think something happened from that moment up until February the 16th of 2019 that has continued up until Kevin Holmes was elected, prevented Eva Millard from being arrested. I believe that she believes that she has always had immunity. I think she has had that. Clearly she has. So I can't wait to get to the bottom of whatever it has been in place protecting her, and what, phone records of certain people may show, and maybe depose those people. I think it would be fun. Because no, I don't think it was an accident that they attempted to prosecute Jordan Shreve for the murder of Olivia. And that is why I'm still pissed.
Well, the good news is that 47 days in, Kevin Holmes has done nothing to prove that he's a man of morals and ethics and integrity. He wants to hold up to the standards that the community that elected him has in place for him, and he doesn't let that community down. And I think that he continued to show that in just the 47 days that he's been in office. And so I think that when you have someone representing the community that actually has the appropriate morals and ethics, and is someone that you should be honored to have leading the prosecutor's office in Crawford County, I think that some of the things that previously were allowed or overlooked or not dealt with, when you have an honest person the honest thing is going to be done.
So I have a question because I'm still new to this. So the police officers that were apparently corrupt or mishandled everything, was there any action against them? I'm guessing probably not, but has there been any action?
And remember, I said, guys, I've got to go. But I'm gonna.
Oh! Now you want to bounce.
Chad,
Now you want to bounce. I knew this was coming.
It.
I love you, girl, but I knew this was coming. The minute I said charade, and then Justin's like, "What's going on with these cops?" And then Carrie's like, "Oh shit, I was in bed and I got to go back."
Well, I had that question earlier, I figured I'd table it, so that was
no, it's very good. But I said 5 minutes. It's been like 30, and guys, look at me.
Carrie, my 5 minutes always turns into an hour. 5 minutes.
I was in.
There will be people in the comments that appreciate that, Justin.
I've been wearing and up since yesterday because obviously
this is my PJ shirt. I mean, I got little shorts on, but I mean, when I say I'm in bed, we had to go to Little Rock and back. Chad texted me today. Let's be honest, it was a pretty pissy text message. And Chad style. Do I get mad? No. I was like, I can't deal with this. It
wasn't intended to be.
I said, not today, Satan. Oh. I said, I'll call you tomorrow.
If I had snark for you, I'd pick up the phone and call. No, I was on the way to go get. I was actually taking my Harper to go do stuff. So I was texting and driving, which I shouldn't have been. So that's why it was short and sweet.
Well, apparently they've all kind of they've already out of
my place, but it was a snark level of like 6.8. I mean,
my God.
Chad is 7. Chad just talking is somewhat snarky, but it was basically like a blank or get off the pot text on a trial he's got coming up. He was like, "Are you in or are you out? I don't care, but quit leaving me hanging." That's what it said.
I think that sometimes people internalize things that they're already thinking. Like, for instance, if you were already thinking, like, I should have already told him what the fuck I'm doing on that case, etc. But like I said, if I text all good, I mean it. Either way.
Let's be honest. I
sorry,
like a day away from sitting with you on Jordan, and I had 2 trials that didn't come off, but I came down there, so.
She did. There's a lot to that story, probably for another day, but Carrie was amazing, sort of with a bunch of funny stuff that I don't know if I can say. I don't know if she wants to be said. It's funny, sort of.
I don't want to.
It's funny trial stuff.
Okay.
You don't want to what?
I said I don't want to end up in jail, so I don't know what you're fixing to say. I always say.
Look, I'll represent you. So after 3 to 4 years, you'll be acquitted.
I always say there's 2 or 3 people in my life that when something happens to them, I'm going to be a little farther away from going, to the pen or anything. And Chad's one of those.
Well, they answered, the commenters answered. Apparently the police were all promoted. So that's why should I be surprised about that?
What? Why is Carrie trying to bail out before anyone comments?
They're out at all, like a bunch of.
No, but I really am, man. I am beat. But guys, I have not been posting. I've not been doing anything on TikTok. Maybe this will spur me back on. I still scroll through it till midnight every night.
Justin, I think that's a good question, though, before Carrie leaves, to ask Carrie what happened to the officers.
Chad.
Carrie, I need to do a little video about Eva getting arrested in this case. If you want to, if you just need to talk about, just maybe.
I was going to, somebody asked my skincare routine. It's Botox.
I'm overdue for the same skincare routine.
I need that
on skincare, but yes, if I can get, they had to move all my stuff that was today to tomorrow, so I don't know how much time, but if at a minimum I would like to just duet one of yours. I know everybody's wondering, somebody, y'all are so kind when I don't post, like, is everything okay? But I am. It's just like, man, it's just crazy right now. So anyways, I love all of y'all. Y'all are Justin. We will do another one. I dropped the ball on that one.
No, I think it was both. I think it was everything. There was lots of going on with Idaho, and now there's always going to be something. Then there's Murdoch. Then there's the Daybell Vallow case coming up, and then there's always something around the corner.
If I could just go travel around and sit in these trials, I would love it. Dream job for SoJo and I.
Right?
Yeah, it would have been awesome to have you at Murdoch, because that case is just.
Yes, we've been talking about it a lot. I would love to be there. That trial, and I'll say this, I gotta go, but I mean, Chad, did you see what happened? So do you know the situation with the roadside deal and the suicide by drug?
The cousin Eddie situation.
Cousin Eddie. So the defense attorney messed up, opened the door. That's a defense attorney's worst nightmare.
I saw this.
And it is now that whole preemptive, prepared suicide to give Buster the $10 million is getting in, which,
But did he up or did he set the prosecution up?
I don't know, because I didn't get to follow too much today. That hound keeper guy, like, I want to have lunch with that guy. It doesn't sound like I'd want to have. He's in bed on the recliner or on his recliner by 4:30. But what a guy. I don't know. The prosecution either is walking into it. When I was a prosecutor, I would have stepped slowly and may not even try to get it in, because I think it really lays the groundwork for an ineffectiveness of counsel. Chad may say otherwise, but as a prosecutor, you're trying to win your case and preserve a good, clean record that 7 years down the road, when evidence is lost and witnesses pass. And so if they choose, I don't know if it ever came in today, but I mean, Chad, don't you agree? Like, if a judge was so clear on something and he opened the door by asking a question about it, like, what the crud?
Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
I think that earlier that day, even that day or the day before, the judge said that roadside event was not going to be admissible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he had just said that, and then literally a few hours later, they opened the door, so now it is.
I think that and the prosecution could line it, but that's just my personal opinion. But I've watched the whole trial.
I filed motions to suppress evidence before that I knew that I was going to bring in, so I may just be twisted, but I've intended to open the door to things and then file the motion so I could make the record in advance for the defendant. So, I don't know. It smelled like a trap to me. It smells like a prosecution trap.
I think they did with Maggie's sister on the stand. So they didn't want it in with her up there. And then obviously he intentionally brought up Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation, as that's all about. I think he very clearly set them up. I think he didn't want it in that day, and then he obviously knew what he was doing when he said it, and I think they took it the bait.
Well, cousin,
I don't know.
Cousin Eddie in an interview, or his lawyer said in an interview that that the whole story was fake. He'll eventually tell his truth, but if Cousin Eddie on to shoot Alec, he wouldn't have missed, is what he said.
I've laughed so hard at that statement.
Yeah.
I just questioned, maybe he didn't think any mention of Cousin Eddie. I don't know if he would have thought it had to be Cousin Eddie plus the roadside. I don't know, but it's a mess if it's not planned.
Yeah, that whole thing, that everything about that trial is a mess. I did a live a few weeks ago with WFLA's JB Buno, and we were talking about that. And one of the comments that he made is we could talk about that case nonstop for 72 straight hours, and you still wouldn't have everything.
No, I mean it can happen. I made a little mistake in closing once. It was a rookie mistake. It ended up being okay. We got a not guilty, but it can happen so fast. My mistake was pretty stupid, and I mentioned my client chose not to testify. which means you can't ever then use that against my client. You can't say, well, he's guilty because he sat over there. But I brought up in my closing one line about him not testifying, which then opened the door for the prosecution to come in their rebuttal closing to then talk about him not. So mistakes can happen no matter how smart you think you are. But so you would never make that mistake, would you, Chad?
Oh, shit. I've made a million mistakes. I'll make more tomorrow.
It honestly, every lawyer, if you're a trial lawyer, it's not what mistakes you've made. It's just how many you made that day. Were they big? Were they small? Some will turn out. Some of the worst things I felt like I've done ended up circling back and being okay. And then like, okay, that worked out. So.
Yeah, look, like in Jordan's case, there was, we were going in, we split the weekend and Eva was still on the stand. And we were having just hell exporting the videos, both the interview and the MVRs. And, everybody reconvened on Sunday. And I told everybody to stop working on certain things because, I knew we were going to go pretty fast and dirty once the state rested. And so anyway, she's back on the stand and she stepped off in the landmine field about some stuff. And I turned around and Chris, and for those that are brand new to this, Chris was, at this point in time, had been a licensed lawyer for less than a year. And, and he did an amazing job, like a seasoned vet. But I turned around, I leaned in while she's still in the stand. I'm like, hey, do we have, blah, blah, blah. And he leans in closer and he goes, you told us to cut all of that shit. And I was like, I did? And he goes, yeah, we don't have any of that. And I was like, huh, okay, fuck it. We'll do it live. And just turned back around and his eyes were like this big. So, no, I mean, you make millions of mistakes, but you just, you just try and take the next step.
I'll try to think of it tonight. There was something, do you remember you and I were bickering for quite a few days before the trial over something you were going to do, and I told you were making a big mistake. And turns out you weren't. I can't remember. It was one angle you were taking, and I really thought it was a dumb angle.
I don't remember, but I look forward to you reminding me publicly. I welcome that.
And anytime he does something, that I feel like is dumb, I'll tell him, I'll tell him.
It's only 400 people. You're good. It's only like.
But guys, I'm logging off.
So like before she goes though, I texted Carrie because I'm an hour away. I mean, it's my home county, but I live an hour north, and so I text her. I forget what it was. It was like, can you print this? It was it was important at the time, and she's got her own cases and all that sort of stuff, and just swamped. But so Carrie's assistant. And y'all have to remember, Carrie in my home county, Carrie's home county, I guess I should say, because I left. But she's a really big deal, y'all. She's not just a social media big deal, but she's a big deal. And so, like, Carrie's assistant rolls into the courtroom, comes up to the bar, and was like, hey, Chad. I'm like, yeah, and everybody's real quiet. And I forget if someone's on stand or not. And she's like, hey, Carrie wanted me to make sure y'all had these. She might as well have been like, Carrie Jernigan wanted me to make. And then... It was phenomenal.
I don't even remember that, but I'm not. I love this county. I love the people in it, and it's where I'm gonna die. They gonna bury me or sprinkle my ashes somewhere around here. So, guys, it's fun. We will do it again. I'm gonna try to brush my hair and maybe throw on a little mascara next time. Okay.
Me too.
They have filters for that, so you don't have to do that.
I know. Well, because it's so small, I didn't even, guys. I went 0. Yes, Jules, go Airedale.
You don't have to make any effort. You can just swipe till you find the filter you want. It'll give you full-on makeup.
Dadgummit. Yeah. So hey, somebody just said go Airedales. Anybody on here who does not know what an Airedale is, by the next live, I want y'all all to know. So y'all go Google that, and then we can talk about it next time.
Their dog that always gets beat by the pointers.
Oh, shut your pie hole. He's so full of it. Bye, guys. Bye, Justin. SoJo, I'll talk with you later. Good work and congratulations.
Thank you.
Bye,
Appreciate you.
Bye, Carrie.
A couple things for both of y'all that people have asked me to ask both multiple times. So for you, SoJo, it was to explain your background on this. I think that's what they said. And then the other one for you, Chad, is well, I have a couple for you about. I was supposed to ask what happened during the trial with the backpack, and then also, I think they said you need to do a reenactment of the cross-examination of the murder.
I'll let SoJo go first.
I think she just froze on us.
I think
there she is.
Oh, she's unfroze.
People want to know my credentials.
Oh, background,
Lord have mercy.
They want to know your background.
Yeah. So
look, I don't think I'm flexible enough to do a reenactment while she's putting a charging cord in whatever. That would take days.
So I have a degree in criminal justice, legal studies, sociology, and communications, and worked in legal. And I had a family member that was murdered, so I have an educational, professional, and personal background in criminal justice.
Good background.
And outside of defense counsel and the Shreve family themselves, she's the only other person that is fully up to speed on sort of all of this. And this, again, carried the torch for the last 2 years. I mean, on June 28, 2021, the jury came back in an hour and 35 minutes. Their first straw poll was unanimous for acquittal after a 7-day jury trial. And then they spent the next hour and 20 minutes discussing how Eva had killed her child. And then the judge sent in, what do y'all want, burgers or pizza? And then the bailiff came back out and they said they needed a little more time. And the judge said, well, I told them they only had the choice of burgers or pizza. And I looked at him, and then the judge's trial court assistant looked at him, and I was like, you're not talking about the food, are you? And he was like, no, they're ready to deliver a verdict. I was like, okay, I'll see y'all in there. And, that happened quick, fast, in a hurry. So I don't know how to do a reenactment of the cross, but this case it's ridiculously complex, and Carrie was going to bounce, or is going to bounce, because I will say things the way that I want to say them sometimes, and that's why she's probably better at this many days than I am. But I mean, the whole damn prosecution of Jordan Shreve was a charade. It was false. Other synonyms people want to be used. The investigating officers, if they choose to, they need to sue me personally. That is how strongly I feel about it, and can present it, and will be glad to. But one of the things that leads to that is it's sort of like being pregnant. You can't be a little bit pregnant, right? You either are or you're not. And so an investigation is corrupt or it's not. Evidence is fabricated or it's not. And if you cheat, lie, or steal on any piece of that, then it doesn't matter about the rest of it, And one of the reasons that a 12-person jury acquitted Jordan in probably record time after that many days is we did a good job of presenting it, but it is also because it's clear. It's been clear to everyone, to SoJo. It's been clear to the former medical examiner that we had on standby from a neighboring state of Arkansas, to a former prosecutor out of the state of California, to independent EMTs, to just everybody that I reviewed this case with, because it takes a village to keep you from losing your damn mind when you think the whole world's against you in a conspiracy. But the backpack is one of those, Justin. So the evidence log in this case lists a Minnie Mouse backpack. That's it. Full stop. It just lists a Minnie Mouse backpack. And so in preparation for trial, a date in which the state moved to continue after they were confronted with vaguely some of this, prior to that, we took our own investigator, me, Chris, and our investigator, Billy Turnbow. We went under the supervision of the Van Buren Police Department. We opened every paper bag, razored it open, photographed it, watched the evidence tech tape it shut. So I'm pulling out of boxes, and there were certain ones that I was very interested to see what was in. And I was like, "Where's the backpack? Oh, there it is." And it is, look, you have at least one, right, kiddo, Justin?
Yeah, I have a 3.5-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. So backpacks and shit everywhere, and so I'll backpack. There's my two girls have got backpacks laying all around the house, but so I grabbed this bag and I'm like, what is in here? Is there an anchor in here? What is right? And so I'm like, Billy, open this one next and open it just like it is. And he's like, all right. And he's photographing, his assistant's there. He cuts it open, and there's a backpack. It's a single zip Minnie Mouse backpack, like most kids' backpacks, because if you get beyond one or maybe two zippers, it's chaos, kids. It's just chaos. And it's full of things. There's a package of wet wipes in there, which is open, and there appear to be drops of blood on it. There are snack bags in there. There are clean diapers, and there what appears to be blood on several of these items. This backpack is photographed on the same exact side of the bed that Eva Millard said she was sound asleep on until Jordan got home. So clearly she wasn't sound asleep on top of a backpack full of stuff. Clearly, when the officer put it in a paper bag and sealed it up, it was open, it was unzipped, and so he could see everything in it. And what I've learned as I've come to be sort of the old lawyer in the room on some things is that a lot of lawyers just don't trials just don't happen. And two is that a lot of lawyers don't go and review the evidence and have it cut open by their people and all that shit in advance. And so I just don't think anyone thought it was going to happen. And so, we sort of sandbagged in that. We begged them to go open it, and they didn't. And then we got to trial, and they hadn't opened it. And so we sort of sandbagged them into, getting that open with the Van Buren Police Department evidence tech, who was fantastic. And she has children. And I'm like, Christy, would you ever mistake that for an empty backpack? I think she has 3 kids. And she was like, no. And she had tears in her eyes. What those tears represent, I don't know, but I think it spoke volumes as she was asked to show that to the jury, a piece of evidence that was labeled as simply a backpack. And we have these things that are highly relevant to the prosecution of Eva Millard and to the exoneration of Jordan Shreve, and they were hidden sort of Raiders of Lost Ark style, like the Ark of the Covenant, in a box in a massive installation.
I think a key point to this story, besides one, Chad deserves an Oscar for the performance that he put on when he was like, "Is there something in that bag?"
I was
I'm
just kidding.
Yeah, you deserve an Oscar for that. But they actually stopped court and had us all leave over the backpack. Chad doesn't even remember that. He's blocked that part out. But he's like, "Is there something in that bag? Can you open that bag at court?" And they opened the bag, and Chad is like, "Is there something inside of the bag? Is there something in there?" And there was, obviously, evidence in there, even some blood evidence in there. And the judge is like, "Get out. Everyone just get out." So we're all like the jury wasn't even going. The jury and everybody else had to go stand in the parking lot. And I'm like, don't so much as look at me, because I'm not getting blamed or accused of anything. So I'm just sitting there like, my business. But in my head, I'm like, I'm sorry, we're not on an episode of Law and Order. Like, what is going on? Did they really not check that backpack for 2 years? And they just found out about evidence in a backpack in the middle of trial, and we just all got thrown out into the parking. It's something off a TV show.
Yes, it sounds absolutely insane. So what did they do with the evidence then? Like, that was in there, since it had been processed, it hadn't been logged. Was it admitted? Was it tested? Like, what happened with it?
Yeah, so I mean, it was admitted. It was what it was, right? And so something, again, entirely insane is that we ultimately moved to put in a bunch of evidence that we baited them to bring to court. And I subpoenaed the evidence to bring every piece of evidence related to this case, just in case there were some other things I hadn't seen. And so it was admitted, and so the jury had the ability to take a further peek if they want to. But the state didn't put it in. The defense did.
But can you explain how you could have prevented some things from coming in? Like, you know that things were not done properly, and you could have prevented things from getting in, but instead you said, no, please, put it all in, show everything.
Yeah, look, the easy part and maybe the most difficult part of any case I've ever had, and there just aren't many, and if there are any past or future clients watching, I mean, that's just the way it goes. But a couple of things were true about Jordan. One is he was innocent. There was good lawyering by many lawyers, including Carrie, right, who wasn't on the record. So there was good lawyering, and also Jordan was always innocent, and we were never going to plea, no matter what the offer was. So that makes it easy to go try, because when you're negotiating cases, it's always this sort of, well, if you press too hard from the state standpoint, Chad, then, we'll take a probation offer on the table. And your client's on camera, right, being like, yeah, no, that key of Coke is mine. And so that's a problem. But yeah, but the problem with Jordan Shreve is that Jordan was always innocent, and you don't sleep for 3 fucking years. And look, the SoJo Files, I'm not sure the right word when it comes to nouns, but it's the reason that Eva Millard, who killed her daughter, was arrested finally. The SoJo Files, and then other people like Medic Jeff that's on here, and then Justin's taking an interest. And it takes a village to raise idiots like me and SoJo. I mean, not that she's an idiot, but she kind of is. And so, like most people would let it go, right? In fact, we got some calls from some, quote, named civil lawyers after Jordan was acquitted. And I spoke with them at length, and so did Chris. And, they had initially called about the civil aspect of what happens next. And then I tried to explain it to them. And they're like, well, shit, this actually would be a good case if he'd been convicted. And I was like, yeah, but he wasn't. And that's okay. We got it from here, kid. But SoJo has kept it alive just through ridiculous willpower. And it's a testament to the fact that from the first day that I met Jordan through the end of the trial and beyond, some things are still true. Never met a person who said he was a liar. Not once. Not fucking ever. Including his ex-wife. Wow. Never met a single person, whether we're talking about the drug area, which he was an admitted addict. And I told the jury, I said, here's what they're going to do. They're going to say, he's a drug addict. And he fled that day. And the fled that day is bullshit. Drug addict is 100% true, or was. But there's not a person that's ever met him, including everybody, that's said that he has a violent bone in his body. I mean, so there were just some massive inconsistencies. Look, Eva has prior violent felonies. She has not any custody of other children. So one of these days, in the very near future, we're going to make people, right, look at the poo on the floor and smell it and get out of the house, and smell the poo and get out of the house, right? We're going to house train people, and that's what we're going to do. But people intentionally look the other way at bare minimum. And at maximum, they were complicit in a scheme to frame a dude. And now for how long, SoJo, did you coax me into doing this? And then you were like, oh shit, I might regret this. But for however long that is, I have personally said my name with this face, right? Looks like Cartman, especially when I take my hat off. It gets real shiny up here. But and I've said, if you want to sue somebody for whatever the hell you think I'm saying that is derogatory or false or malicious, sue me. Do it now and do it quickly. Please do. Oddly enough, I talk to more people every day that are like, I hear you on that podcast, but yet I haven't been sued. And I say things like it's a charade and the investigation was complete bullshit, but yet not sued. It's fascinating to me, Justin. Fascinating.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating to me that they got all promoted, apparently. One of them became the sheriff. People keep telling me more. People keep telling me.
So here's the deal. One of the detectives got promoted to, they all got promoted after the podcast, by the way. One of
you
them
can't
got
say
promoted.
all. That's not true. Lots
Daniel
of people
Perry
got fired.
elected prior to, well, the key ones. So, for example, Chase DeCrew was an officer. He then became an SRO, but he just got promoted to detective. Wesley Marsh is now lieutenant. Jonathan Ware is now captain of the police department, which, by the way, Jonathan Ware is the officer that went on the news and said that the big break in the case was us being able to locate Jordan Shreve, even though all of the notes quite clearly proved that the police knew where he was the entire time. Chad called and told them this was not a secret. They admitted to knowing where he was the whole time in court. So the person that's lying on the news about not knowing where he was the whole time, yeah, he's now the captain of the police department. And Daniel Perry, who we saw earlier mishandling evidence, well, he's now the sheriff of Crawford County. Should make people feel real warm and fuzzy.
I don't know how other states do it, but Daniel Perry was, he'd been a 20-plus year veteran of the Van Buren Police Department. So he ran for election and beat a couple people, I think, and ultimately won in a runoff. But yeah, he's the sheriff. But the chief deputy who tried this case, fired. The rest of the prosecutor's office, wiped out by Kevin Holmes' election. Look, whatever happens after Eva's case, Kevin said things are screwed up in here, and I'm going to let everybody go. And he did. Patty Stroud with the Crawford County Sheriff's Office at the time, whose involvement to this day mystifies me, but she's gone. She left and went to Walmart. And there are a couple of other folks with the PD who left. So, yep, there were folks involved that were promoted, no doubt. And then there were some that were given pink slips. Maybe it's coincidence. Who knows?
I think that it's a scary thought that the person that you see mishandling evidence, and among other things, is now the sheriff. They want me to say the pizza story, I guess. While Jordan is being interrogated, they want to see his phone, and he says, "Here's my phone. Go through my phone. I don't care. Here's my phone." They use his phone, which should have been evidence in a homicide investigation, to order Pizza Hut. And then why don't you finish the end of the story for me, Chad? How does that come into play later on?
Oh God, it's so hard to actually narrow it down. I mean, are we talking about
ride home phone number?
Oh yeah, no, the now sheriff gave Eva a ride home after Jordan was already back at the house that they then went and got a warrant for the next day, by the way. And they'd been there all day, and they fabricated evidence, and they fabricated their reports, and they shredded a crime scene log. But no, Daniel Perry gave her a ride home, and then had her put his number in her phone and title it Pizza Hut. I don't know if people were ordering pizzas or. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's kind of wild.
I drank all these. I go to the restaurant. I have more questions as to why they're. I mean, I live in the South. I lived in the South my whole life. I mean, I get that there's a lot of corruption when it comes to police, but especially in small Southern towns. Murdoch case is a very good example of that. What you're talking about. I went to school in Statesboro, Georgia, for a while. That they were real bad about it. So I get it, but it seems like something the state should be. Like whatever Arkansas's Bureau, I guess is it the Arkansas Bureau of Investigation? We have the TBI, but should be investigating, it seems to me, this type of a scenario. But I guess I can hold that thought till I get back. But
yeah, hold that thought and come back. I have an answer to that.
All right, y'all can talk in the meantime, and I'll be right back.
Don't forget to mute yourself if you're on AirPods.
I don't have on AirPods. We're good.
Oh, okay. It's always awkward when I do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a crazy case. Like I said, it is convoluted, but if you just go to the SoJo Files YouTube and you pull up, playlist, Shreve, and just hit play and start watching, or just watch the interrogation tapes. You can just watch the teasers and go straight to the interrogation tapes. I think that will be enough to get your interest in this case and to get you invested in looking at other aspects of the case. Because, the Murdoch trial is very convoluted. There's so much. This is a complex case like that. So, I just think it's...
Here, I'll put it a different way. Like, if not for SoJo, I don't know if the arrest of Eva Millard, who murdered her child, would happen. Yay, we get a pound back. We defended an innocent man, and we acquitted him. It's hard to ever express the emotions I have about that. But to be super clear, for those who have not ever went to any of the SoJo media sites, she's managed to wrangle in some people who are well qualified, and I'm not one to say that, but look, if you want any sort of behind the scenes or the insight into it, we acquitted Jordan, and we did so after begging for a trial for years, and they were running from it, and along the way, as I've gotten older with less hair, which fortunate for me, it left at like 17, so not a big loss. But I happened to have, fell backwards into.
I'm not going to do this to make you feel jealous.
Oh man, I hate that. But that's
I'm so much
hair.
as older too. That's the thing.
But that's awesome. That is amazing hair, by the way.
Thank you. Normally it's done, but it's been raining all day, and so I just put a hat on.
See, I do that too. Like, how the stories go with folks who have lost a limb or something like that, and they have the phantom itch, so to speak. Yeah. Like, I catch myself going, and it does no good. I don't know what's up there.
Well, it's nicely polished for what that's.
Thanks. Yeah. I think it's just the reflection, but I appreciate it.
But okay,
so listen, for the first time in my career, on the eve of trial, as things were getting more and more twisted, and we had been pushing this as a general rule in my business. Kicking the can is great, but I actually reported by name and in great detail the entirety of the prosecutors in that office about a week before trial, and so we're going to go try this case, and I have no qualms about that. My client's innocent, and then I listed sort of bullet point what I believe to be ethical violations against the at the time elected prosecutor, which was not Kevin Holmes, her chief deputy Robert Presley, and the rest of the staff, and they were like, "Oh my God, this seems pretty serious, right?" Because I'm not a fresh out of law school guy, and I've worked my butt off to, if I decide to whine about something, I want it to kind of matter. And I was like, oh, they take this seriously. Good deal. And about 3 days after Jordan was acquitted, I got an email from the Office of Professional Conduct that said, yeah, we've closed this out. So I emailed them back. Said, hey, like in my whole career, like there've been 3 complaints open against me. I responded to them with banker's boxes full of shit and said, sour grapes on their part. And they were like, yeah, we agree. But all of those involved phone calls to lots of other people. I said, how many lawyers were interviewed in connection with my complaint? And they emailed back and said, we didn't talk to, ask a question of a single fucking person. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know that I will take the Office of Professional Conduct in Arkansas very seriously anymore. And like many things related to this case, I don't know that makes me any friends, but I don't care.
Probably not. But you can just move to Tennessee.
The thing is, I love the state of Arkansas, and I think the state of Arkansas has a lot to offer. And I think that the state of Arkansas has a lot of good people. It's just we have a lot of people that have positions of power that they shouldn't have. And I think that people need to realize that the checks and balances are defense attorneys. The checks and balances are the community demanding accountability and making sure people are doing their jobs. And I think people forget that. People assume that police officers are always doing their jobs. Now, I respect police officers. They are risking their lives to serve and protect the community. I absolutely stand by the blue. However, the best thing you can do when you stand by the blue is call out those who are disrespecting the badge by wearing it and not having the morals and ethics and integrity that the community they serve expects them to uphold wearing the badge. And so when I see someone disrespecting all of the amazing officers that are risking their lives to serve and protect the community, that's a big issue to me, because police officers and firefighters and EMTs, they're heroes, and people look up to them as heroes, and they should have the characteristics of a hero, and that is morals and integrity. And so when we see people disrespecting the badge, that's something that's important. Calling that out is not being against the blue. That's actually showing the utmost respect to the blue, because they're disrespecting the integrity of the group, because there's so many great officers out there. And so I think that we expect officers to do their job. We expect prosecutors to do their job. We should be able to, but that is not the reality of the circumstances here. And without people checking to make sure that officers are doing their jobs and prosecutors are doing their job, they're allowed to get away with things that they should not be allowed to, and they're allowed to have lower standards than we expect them to have. And so it's very important that as a community, the community and the defense attorneys are the checks and balances. They're the only people making sure that they're doing their job. So you can't just assume that someone's going to do their job. Listen, if I tell Chad I'm going to do something, he fucking knows I'm going to do it. But that doesn't mean he's not going to text me and be like, yo, did you fucking do that thing that you told me you're going to do? And I'd be like, yeah, so I fucking did it, duh. And that's how we are. Then be done with it. It's not that he doesn't trust me not to do it, but is he doing his job if he doesn't make sure? No. So that's just how that works. We as a community, we want to believe that they're doing their job, so we also need to make sure that they are.
Well, the thing is, too,
and they didn't do that.
There's a lot of, let's make a little bit of a devil's advocate here. There are a lot of bad cops out there. Look what we just had a couple weeks ago in Memphis. And actually, I'll give you a number. It's about 40% of them are not good. About 40%. So, because if you Google police and 40%, you'll find some interesting statistics.
Listen, Joe, I heard. Go ahead. Sorry, man.
Joe said it's more like 42%, but still.
Oh, I think there's a philosophical argument that it's higher. First, I'm going to reject SoJo's language with regard to back to blue. Like, I'm just not buying into that. I back everybody who is honest, ethical, moral, and does their job. I don't give a damn if you're blue or red or purple or yellow. I don't care what your occupation is. If you're a good human being who does your job, I will come help you. If you have my number and can call me, full stop. So I'm not buying into back to blue, back to red, right? Like, that's a really good one. Like, no one's like back to red, right? We all love the fire department.
Nobody ever has anything bad to say about firemen, ever.
That's right.
Never.
100%.
Probably a reason.
And what's the reason? But look, I to this day, I represent a lot of law enforcement. There's very much a reason for that. But there's a bunch of shitty defense lawyers. There's a bunch of shitty lawyers. No one wants to talk to a lawyer. I don't want to talk to them. But my point was, Justin, I think that number could be higher, right? So let's say that you have an officer in a particular PD. We'll just use PD, and they have done something highly inappropriate, whatever that is. Maybe they're banging someone that's part of an investigation, or maybe they lied, maybe they took drugs from evidence. But So if they interact with the other 10 people, let's call it drug task force, and so 3 of them were involved in it, but the rest of them know or heard or believed or had suspicion of that 10, but they all ever heard and they didn't do a damn thing about it. Well, that number from 40% goes to 100, at least in that squad.
Yeah,
right. And then
being complicit. I mean, they were complicit at that point. So yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to cover for other people when you have immunity, which is the only thing that is ever going to work with any sort of police reforms, is to abrogate this idea of qualified immunity. But immunity, a badge and a gun, right? I can't go flag you down, Justin, and then be like, get out of the car. Oh, you're not complying. I'm going to taser you, right? I mean, these work because we need law enforcement. There's zero doubt about that. But
100%. But it needs reform.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. If we got rid of immunity and went to a system in which Van Buren PD, Crawford County Sheriff's Office, Atlanta PD, Fulton County, they all had to go get private insurance. And then the insurance carrier, as a third party, adjusted their rates, right? We'd start seeing a filter and trickle out effect of bad cops who do bad stops and have a high incident of violence. But those are all hidden behind a curtain in internal reviews. So we're not ever going to see those until we adjust the immunity aspect.
So I have a cousin who lives in Miami. He actually works for University of Miami Hospital is what he works for. And he's a psychiatrist, and he deals with a lot of times the suspects or criminals that come in that are brought in for psych evals. And one thing that he kind of said to me, which I found very interesting, he goes, what's really interesting about dealing with a lot of these police, he goes, a lot of them are assholes. He said, and a lot of them exhibit the exact same qualities that people bring in. They basically the exact same. Now that's Miami also, which Miami's a completely different breed. But
right.
Anyways, but I found that statement from him very interesting. That basically they're kind of, he kind of like basically a lot of them are bullies, basically, for putting a single word.
Look, I think that's true.
The sociologist,
do what?
The sociologist in me is going to have to point out that there's been plenty of studies on this and how power dynamics can change things. And so if you were to say, look up, I don't know, like the Stanford prison experiment or other sociological studies on these types of things, the reason why power dynamics cause issues is because it's like a small child. Children are taught to respect adults. And so there's a power dynamic there. They kind of fear them. So that makes them kind of scared to tell their parents something that maybe they want to tell them or should tell them because they also don't want to get in trouble because there's the power dynamic. So that follows us into our adult lives. And when we have officers, we know that they are the gatekeepers, literally, so to speak. And we're scared of them, even if we're not doing anything wrong. That's why you tap your brakes when you see one behind you and you're not doing anything. And
that's just because I don't want money for a ticket. That's why. Because I was once told by a cop, you can't drive 2 miles without doing something wrong. I just don't want to spend money on a ticket and have an insurance hike. I'm not scared of them. I just don't want, looking like me.
You're scared of the repercussions. You're scared of the repercussions.
Yeah, I don't want
because they have the power to give you those.
I'm scared of my insurance.
And so I just think, there's repercussions that an officer can cause you to have.
Yes.
Which is what gives that power dynamic. And so I say that to say this: if we are not holding them accountable, if we are not expecting transparency, if we are not, as the society whose tax dollars pay them, the community that they're serving and protecting, if we're not expecting and holding them to standards, that guess what? They're going to hold us to standards. If we're going 10 over the speed limit, you're getting a fucking ticket. It's not a balance because we're not holding them accountable unless shit really hits the fan or something goes viral on TikTok. And that's not how it should be. I think that we as a society need to work harder to educate ourselves in the criminal justice system, which is why I do what I do, because I've went to school for this, I've worked in it, and I personally have been through it. And so I got to see the different aspects, unfortunately. And people need to be educated on the criminal justice system. They need to be educated on the legal system. And I can't stress enough that we need to uphold the standards that are in place for a reason. Because if we're not doing that, we're part of the problem.
I 100% agree with you on that entire, thought process. But here's the problem when you're dealing with, and again, I'm new to this, but what I am from these small town police departments, and we talk about Van Buren. We can talk about let's go to South Carolina for this. You have police that will cover things up that so you try to go after them and hold them accountable. They're going to make your life a living hell. There's plenty of stories from South Carolina of people who went up against the Murdochs that found themselves in jail or without jobs, whatever. So there's the fear of retaliation, I think, is what becomes the problem, and especially when you're dealing with it in a smaller town where there's already that corruption. They're going to stand behind each other, to make sure that they protect each other. So then it's like, how do you combat that? And that makes it really, really difficult.
Well, a society is how you combat that. It can't just be one against. It's got to be checks and balances. The society in which they're a part of, the community in which they serve, has to have a way to hold them accountable. And the issue is that there really isn't one. Social media is kind of that placeholder right now, unfortunately. I mean, of course, you can go to the police department and file a complaint, but with who? Their coworkers. That's not an efficient way to file a complaint. And again, there's an obvious power dynamic there. But yes, one against a whole department is never going to be good enough. And that's why I refuse to take credit for Eva being arrested. Chad and I can get on here. We can do the podcast. And if it's not for this community online that spread the word, that made videos, that got people like you to pay attention, then it would just be us talking to no one. And so it does take an army, and I think that the community needs to continuously not just pick popular cases. Like, everyone latches on to these trending cases.
I mean, I'll take credit for it if you're not going to.
Do what?
Well, that's fine.
I was telling SoJo, like, I'll take credit for Eva being arrested. If SoJo's going to keep sort of dodging it and being like, oh, I'm not taking credit.
Well, you saw what I told him a couple hours ago. I said, own it. Take credit. Eventually, you're going to take credit for it.
What he said.
And because here's the thing. Yes, it takes an army. I agree with it. Just like banners. I didn't fly a banner 100% by myself. I had my followers help. And so I'll say us. And you can say this, but you're the one that put optics on it. You're the one
100%.
That got people, interested in it. You're the one who made content that drew people in to be passionate about it. So that's, what I'm saying? That's something. And because of that, it's cause and effect. Because you did that, here's the effect. He was now arrested and awaiting, hopefully, extradition.
Amen. That's 100% right.
Yeah. So, I can say, like I said, I had a family member that was murdered. And so I know what it's like when you're like desperately wanting help and the people that are supposed to be helping you are not helping you. And you're like, oh my God, I'm doing everything. It's like you're screaming for help in the middle of a subway and no one will even so much as stop to look. It's kind of what it feels like. And having lived through that, like I said, I did go to school for this. I did work in this. But when I went through it personally, it changes kind of like you think you understand, but you really have no idea until you've gone through it. And so having lived through that and having this trifecta view on it, it is why I do what I do, because I hate that there's cases that don't get attention that need it. And I know that without that attention, nobody's going to care because nobody knows to care. And so I think that's important.
Yeah, it is important. And it is frustrating when there's a case earlier this year that I was like very, very passionate about. And it was our neighbor. It was Mississippi, our neighboring state, Mississippi, is where it was. And it was a very, very old case. And they ended up, it made some news. Are y'all familiar with Emmett Till? Do you guys know about this story, this case?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know that Mississippi, they found a warrant for the woman who made the accusation, Carolyn Bryant Donham, that was never served?
Shut the hell up. No, I had not heard that.
Okay. So let me give you just the quick, high level overview on this.
Yeah.
So for those of y'all who don't know the Emmett Till story, just a brief background. Jim Crow, Mississippi in the 1950s, 14-year-old boy living from Chicago visiting, gets accused of whistling at a white woman, and her husband and his brother-in-law pull him out of bed. And when I say brutally, horrifically and brutally murder him, and throw him in the river, that is what they did. His mom, actually, if you have the stomach for it, you can Google Emmett Till funeral. His mom chose to have an open casket to show what they did, and actually was one of the biggest proponents of the civil rights movement. So that being said, Carolyn Bryant Donham is the one who made the accusation. Everybody who was involved in his death was acquitted by all white juries because Jim Crow, Mississippi. And anyways, they found a warrant that was never served on Carolyn, and it turns out that it wasn't served because said, well, I don't want to bother her. She has 2 boys at home. So he never served it. So then she's still alive. So she's the only one left. And so anyways, I got really gung-ho on this. I was going to fly a banner over the courthouse in Jackson. And I actually called the courthouse. I always badgered them. Why aren't you serving? Because they weren't going to serve it. Why aren't you going to serve it? Why aren't you going to serve it? And finally, they called a grand jury together and decided that they weren't going to serve it. So then I kind of gave up because once you call a grand jury together, but yeah, they found this warrant.
So why didn't they serve it? And how old was it?
50-something years old. 60-something years old from the 50s. That's
insane.
And it wasn't served. And that's what I said. It wasn't served because the sheriff said she had 2. His words apparently were, she has 2 boys at home. I don't want to bother her.
What was it for?
Let me look. But if there's a way to look at it past a grand jury, let's explore that, because and people were talking about too. Trying to see if I can find it. She's 88 and in hospice here in Kentucky. I'm trying to find out what I have to do a little bit more digging. I forget what it's actually for. But it was a warrant. I guess maybe it was an accessory to murder. It was 70 years old. The warrant. It was from, I think, 1955 or something like that. They beat him brute. Yeah.
It's just an awful. It's a horrible case for him, his family. It's a American history. It's all the things.
Yeah, it's a horrific story. I'll look and see. But once that happens, is there any? Once the grand jury comes together and says, "Now we're not doing this," is that pretty shit?
So I'm going to just work off what I know of Arkansas. It's only been the last 25 years that we got rid of the grand jury system, and we moved to prosecutorial sort of issuing of indictments or felony informations. But so the grand jury in Mississippi in the 50s would have had to actually issue the indictment or the warrant. And then so once that happens, the service of a warrant or not service of a warrant would fall to the local law enforcement. So I'm not sure why the grand jury was reconvened, so to speak. You would have needed a grand jury initially to get a warrant.
Well, back then though. Okay. The warrant was issued August 9th, 1955. It was based on the sheriff's belief that Donham played a part in the kidnapping of Till, that she drove around town of Money, Mississippi, seeking him out, and ultimately identified him and where he got drugged from his bed and was basically kidnapping. A police note on the back of the warrant says she wasn't arrested because she was not in the county, but she was. A local sheriff told reporters at the time that he didn't want to bother her since she had 2 little boys to care for.
Yeah, so I mean, they issued a warrant, and I don't know if they got an indictment. I wasn't aware of that part of the Emmett Till case, but I mean,
nobody was.
If I had a time machine, what I would tell you is exactly why that happened. Is they cut that because probably she wasn't going to play ball originally, and she wasn't going on the stand and say that he did this or he did that. So they cut a warrant for her with 2 little boys at home, and then she testified in the way that they wanted or needed her to. Because at the end of the day, she had 2 little boys at home.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. And so
damn,
she's gotten to live out her days. And the thing is, people are talking about like, well, they don't want to for her age. And I'm like, well, damn, they're putting 100-year-old Nazis in jail. So why this woman?
I tell you what, I know personally that if somebody was an accomplice to something and they were older, they at least here will say things like a jury will never convict a sweet older person.
Shit.
I've been told that. So I don't think this woman. It's just bad reality.
If you look at a picture of her, she looks mean as hell.
I was going to say, the question is, has the culture in that portion of Mississippi changed drastically?
No, it hasn't, because anytime you put up a memorial for Emmett Till, it gets shot at or stolen.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you ever saw change, which Kevin Holmes in Crawford County is fucking changed, by the way. He is a massive change. He wiped everybody out of the prosecutor's office, and that doesn't happen often, ever, in any office. But, you know, if I were the sheriff in that county in Mississippi or the prosecutor, I'd go to her in her sweet little old lady home and be like, listen, here's what we can do. And put this recorder down. I've got this transcriptionist here. You're going to raise your right hand. You're going to swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Now, I'm in no way, since we're on the record, threatening you or coercing you, but you're going to tell me what the hell happened back then, start to finish. At the end of this, I may enforce this warrant, and I most likely will, but your cooperation will be considered by the jury or by the rest of my staff, and we decide how to plead this or what to do with it. But start telling the damn truth and do it now.
Yeah. Well, she was in Kentucky, and apparently during this time, Kentucky was on standby. They were just like, give us the word. We'll go pick her up. Kentucky was like chomping at the bit to do it. So good for Kentucky. But Mississippi, we're good. We're good. We're going to just leave it.
Mississippi's like, no, we don't want anyone unearthing, anything here in Mississippi.
Yeah. Mississippi played a big part in civil rights deaths, so they probably want to.
Oh God, they did. Yeah.
So as we say in Arkansas, thank God for Mississippi. As we say in Arkansas, thank God.
Well, Mississippi and Alabama were real bad with it. Mississippi in particular, because I started this month doing a series on like civil rights martyrs, people who you didn't know who died during the civil rights, and I ended up stopping doing it because people just were not interacting. It was a lot of work, but for people to not interact, for people to not do anything with it. But they were vast majority were Mississippi. Vast.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of Mississippians, or those with very close Mississippi ties.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a different thing for a different day. But anyways, yeah. But Emmett Till, she's still alive. She could totally be arrested, but they're not going to arrest her. And the thing is, even if she never saw jail, just to be put on a stand and convicted, even a suspended sentence, just to be convicted of her crimes, and be trial for it, that I think would have been sufficient for the family.
Yes, and that would be, look, that's easy. That's even low-hanging fruit, which goes to show you the cultural pushback in Mississippi. But even if you stopped short of that gimme, putting her on the stand or getting her under oath with the threat of what happens next, to tell the world, you know, that one, Emmett Till didn't do shit, and two, anything that he did do, if he happened to look your direction, well, it's everything that happened after that is just horrific and tragic and awful from a human standpoint. So,
Yeah.
you know, say your piece. Like, this is your opportunity. You're getting old. Say what you need to say.
Well, she apparently has a tell-all that she's wrote, and it's to be published upon her death. And apparently, what they've learned from it, from a couple of leaks from it, is that she says that she played a small part in it. So she doesn't even in her old age take responsibility. So, anyways, that's again that. If you want to Google, you can Google Carolyn Bryant Donham and just hit news, and you'll find the most recent stuff on it. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, but it was very interesting because to find a warrant, like my thought was when they found it, like, is a 70-year-old warrant even, are we way past statute of limitations on this? So.
We're probably past speedy trial or some version of that. But listen, one thing about it, like someone mentioned earlier, I think it was at least on my side. I don't know how this works on the TikTok, but Jamie Moe mentioned, there's good and bad at all, and then he or she kind of listed bankers, lawyers, doctors, and I hate to be disagreeable, but sometimes I just am. That's true. There's good and bad in all, which is a feel-good position. It just is. Here's the difference, though, of what Jamie Moe had commented. None of those people, not a category, profession, a person, or otherwise, have absolute immunity from doing their worst to other people. We don't need protection from humans doing their best, no matter the profession. We need protection from humans doing their worst to other humans, which never goes out of style, by the way. But we have a group of people who the reasons for their immunity are long since past. And they continue to get that privilege, and that would be best served by literally a third-party insurance company. Let Lloyd's London sort it out. Let their adjusters who are trained in this go, listen, Joe Bob Smith over here, seriously, like, this guy's had 17 lawsuits filed in the last 6 years. That's a bunch. So if y'all want to keep him employed, y'all do that. But your overall policy rate for that department is going to double next year. And then when that decision at minimum comes into play, it's not even a statement on Billy Joe Bob Smith. It's a money decision, right?
Yeah.
And their rate would cut in half if they shit-canned Billy Joe Bob Smith and hired a rookie who didn't know anything about anything. So
keep them all employed, and they would just screw the taxpayers over on the budget.
Well, yeah. Well, look, I mean, that's what they do anyway. If you file a big lawsuit and somebody settles it, it comes off a non-line item budget from a municipality and or county and state. So it's all sort of hidden money.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe Petito has a lawsuit against Utah for the police department in Moab for $50 million.
Oh, I did not know that.
I don't think they're going to get that much. I don't know what he thinks. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think that there's a lot of principle behind that.
Yeah.
So
I know he was in here earlier, and I don't know if he still is, but proud girl dad here. I don't know. I just want the world. I just want the world to burn. If I were him, and the fact that he's not just lit the whole world on fire is admirable and shows just a shit ton of character. I mean,
that entire family, every time I've seen them in this, I have just been in awe of them. Like, for them to take an event like this, they all, Joe's remarried, Nicole's remarried. They still all go and they would decompress together. They co-parent even in her death. They're still working together. But they took a horrific event and they made their daughter's name last by trying to do something wonderful because they don't want other parents to ever feel the way that they did. And I agree with you. I don't know how he does it. I truly don't. But I'm glad that he does, because he's doing wonderful things. And then on top of all of that, not only to lose your child, but to lose your child in a very public manner. I mean, that case went all over the world.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with that. There's so much of that would just hit me incorrectly. I tend to go off grid when things are bad or otherwise, and so I just want to be left alone. I want to go out in the woods and
Yeah.
start a fire or something.
Yeah, and they put themselves right out there. So, I really got to give them that. They're really phenomenal people, and they're doing good work. They're trying to help domestic violence victims. What Carrie said earlier, that's the fact that Gabby's situation inspired them to leave, and that's just in y'all's area. Who knows what that translates into all over the country or all over the world. It could be pretty large numbers.
Well, I think it's a large number. And look, I think that domestic violence is an area where the local law enforcement, the local sheriff, not in Crawford County, but if he wants to hop on anytime and on live, that'd be great. But like our Washington County sheriff, it's a really hard area. Like I have clients where law enforcement gets called out and they arrest both people, right? There's domestic violence call, but their policy is not to arrest both people. Like you should never arrest both people because you may also get the victim. But should anyone who's been in a relationship knows that sometimes in domestic spats, everybody is both a victim and a suspect. So I just think those are maybe some of the more nuanced and more difficult calls that law enforcement does go on. And I don't have any answers for it, but I think it's just important to recognize.
Well, and in this case, the Olivia, that is domestic violence also, 100%. So it's constant. And I guess, and that leads me to another question on this. What's the time frame? Like, do you guys have an idea? And she was just arrested tonight, so you might not know. How soon should she be back to Arkansas? Like, how quickly do you expect that to happen?
It depends on whether or not she fights extradition, and is it 30 or 90 days in California?
If she fights it?
Yeah, if she fights extradition, it'll slow it down.
What's the point of fighting it, though? Because the odds of you winning that are slim. So what's the point?
Generally speaking, go ahead.
I was just going to say she's trying to bid her time. That's what she's trying to do. And I think that there's reasons for that. And I think that people that are listening to the podcast or watch the podcast on YouTube, whatever it might be, I don't want to sway your opinions more than I already have by telling you she's been arrested and that we've been fighting for that.
Hush.
I mean,
I think there's reason.
U.S. Marshals don't put people up for no reason.
Sure as shit don't.
There has to be compelling.
No, they don't.
It's kind of like the whole thing with even with Brian Koberger. It's like you don't get a no-knock warrant with that many people because you did nothing. The evidence has to be incredibly compelling.
Listen, if the FBI is coming for you, hold on, SoJo, you're gonna have to wait. If the FBI is coming for you, they may accidentally kill your dog. They're gonna have 2 wrecks on the way there. They're gonna have 2 agents that destroy evidence and ultimately get indicted. They're gonna make it a shit show. If DEA does it, they're going to have 4 shitty CIs. Like, it's going to be a bad warrant and all the rest. All of these people you can see coming a mile away. The U.S. Marshal Service, like, you're just reading a book on the back patio, and it's a beautiful Sunday, and it's like there's a cat over there. And for other people who have cats, like, you can hear them drinking the water. And then you look up. Like, you look down at your book, you look down at your Grisham novel, and you're like, I'll be damned, that's a great plot. And you look up. And there's 17 people there that appeared out of nowhere. And that's how serious it is when the U.S. Marshal shows up for you. It is insane, the difference in the governmental agencies. But, so if she chose to fight extradition, then Kevin Holmes and his office will need to either go to California or do it via Zoom and show probable cause to a local magistrate. For the warrant, which will be very easy because she is currently held in custody, the way I understand it, on her warrant for violation of her terms of probation and suspended sentence. And so inside of 90 days, she should be back. The smart move for her would be to waive extradition. And I think she will be back in less than a month is my guess.
So even if she waived it, it would still be about a month, you think?
No, inside a month. I don't know. I think there are reasons, and I'm not going to speculate very much in this area, but if she were to waive extradition, I think there could be reasons that extend her stay in California before she comes back.
I just, after Coburger, I expect to move very quickly. That's my new anticipation, but I know it's not normally that way.
Nothing
I think they
works
move
fast.
really quick. Nothing goes fast. I agree with SoJo.
Nothing goes fast, but
unless it's
regardless, you will.
Unless it's high profile, then it'll move fast.
When things are high profile, and media case. If we all joined together to raise awareness so that people knew that we were watching, so here's the thing is, there is this false sense of security amongst people in small towns, and we need to break that false sense of security. We need to make them start wondering who's talking to who, how big is this going to get, do I need to snitch to save my own ass? And so we need as much social media presence as possible to ensure that that facade is cracked and that justice is had, because I can tell you, just statistically speaking, based on what is evident in this case, this can't be the only case in Crawford County like this. And so though you hear us talking about Olivia Soto and Jordan Shreve, this case, I think, reflects both prior cases and cases to come if we do not raise awareness on it, because some of the mistakes that were made are not mistakes, and they knew that they could get away with things like destroying evidence in the case and admitting to it on the stand and not being worried about getting in trouble, because I think that that's probably a pattern of behavior that's been allowed, quite frankly.
Agreed.
And the way
I just realized it's 11 Central Time. I know everybody's Central Time, but that felt fun to say, except for the Aussies on here. Look, I heard y'all were great, and thank you for the Hemsworth brothers.
We're
very much, and the Irwins.
All right, okay, if you're an Aussie, throw an Aussie flag up.
Throw an Aussie flag up.
Y'all should jump on Summer Wells. I won't even touch Summer Wells because I live too close. That family terrifies me. But y'all should work on finding her.
Well, I'm going to jump off and go do a few other things, but I appreciate you guys letting me join in and run my mouth. Very much appreciate it. Now, Justin, it was really nice to meet you, man.
You as well. Look, there's one of the Aussies.
I get to see those. I don't see any Aussie flags on my little comment section over here.
Yeah, you might have your own comment section, but I might. It is 11, and my child's going. Victoria's going to be up at like 7 something. So. But yeah, we should do this again. I'm definitely interested, and we just let me know what you need from me and my followers, and we'll make sure that you get it.
Well, this has been fun, and I appreciate it.
All right, bye, Chad.
Bye, Chad.
If your followers are interested in this story and they want to hear more about it, they can listen to the podcast or watch on YouTube. But any coverage that you can give this case is more than valued and more than appreciated. And I will get you whatever you need to be able to cover. If there's an aspect specifically that you want to cover in this case, I can get you whatever it is that you need to be able to do that. Because at the end of the day, I think that it's more important that justice is served here, that an innocent man has his name cleared. And I think that anyone willing to help accomplish such a thing is an incredible thing. And if there's anything that you want to have in order to cover an aspect of this case, just let me know, because I would be honored to have you help raise awareness in the fight for justice in this case.
Yeah, I can try to put a video together about her arrest and maybe do a quick, like I did with the Murdoch murder. I did like a really quick, like, here are the high points. I could probably put something like that together. But for my followers who haven't hit follow on the SoJo Files yet, you should go do that. And Chad, who just left. But I should probably say that before he left. It would have been easier to find him. But but go hit follow her. What she's been doing. Her work's been great. I don't remember what your following was at, but you definitely need more people with what you're doing. So go follow her.
Well, thank you. And I'm pretty sure everyone on here on my side of things already follows you because, man, you've hit it big when people say Justin and you're expected to know no last name, no nothing, just Justin, and you're expected to know. And I remember the first time I got a message, they're like, you need to contact Justin. And I was like, huh? And they're
Who the
like,
hell's that?
Justin? And they're like, you don't know who Justin is? I was like, well, and then I'm like, someone tell me, like, am I stupid? And they're like, Justin. I was like, damn, dude is like Justin Timberlake level Justin, because
I am not
the only one.
Like level Justin. But
you clearly are Timberlake level Justin, because you are known as Justin, and I think that says a lot. So Justin After Dark.
You're just So the Justin After Dark thing. So I won't do it on TikTok because TikTok is TikTok, but I usually will drink one of these on YouTube Live. And when I'm not on TikTok and I know that I'm not going to get banned because YouTube is YouTube, there's a very different version of me that they it's been called Justin After Dark because I'll get a little unhinged, I guess. And but I won't on TikTok because I like constantly when I log into my account I always have an account warning, like always. It's just like a permanent fixture in my account. You what?
I stay on a warning. Like I didn't even do anything. I'm reading legal docs and I get in trouble. Meanwhile, this person is probably too young to be wearing that, doing what they're like. No one's going to say someone's bullying secondary victims online and no one does anything about that. But I'm reading a legal doc and I'm in trouble. I'm like, damn, I just show up and get in trouble.
I know. And somebody just asked if you need to pay for my YouTube Live. No, I don't. Look, here's the thing about me. I think no offense to any other creators that do this. I guess I don't know if you do this or not, but I don't do subscription goals. I don't do like you sign up and pay me money and you can get a special badge. I don't do any of that. It's if people want to do gifts or they want to support me, I do an affiliate program. That's really about it. So if you want to do that, great. But I don't really try to hit y'all up for money. That's not my shtick, so to speak. So. But I do these shirts. My affiliate program is with these shirts because I love these shirts. So I like all the money I've made has gone to buy more of them. So it's really just that's kind of it. So this is my welcome, or Have the Day You Deserve. I have another one that's like I'm walking like a walking abyss of nightmares or something like that. And
I mean, I think Have the Day You Deserve is a shirt that I'm gonna need in my life shortly.
Well,
so
go to the link tree in my profile. It's the very top link. It's through Boardwalk. They have a lot of really good stuff. If you use code Justin, you get I think like 10 or 20% off, and then I get like a little kickback. But the shirts are good. I bought so many of them, like so many of them.
I'm here for it. There's nothing better than a good shirt or a good sweatshirt. Like if you find a good shirt or good sweatshirt.
And then you can also do like the normal boxy type tees, but then they also have like women's cut tees, and they have like tank tops, and they have the hoodies, long sleeve, all that stuff. So you can do it in tote bags, but there's some of the stuff is stupid, like what it says. It doesn't really like pertain, but a lot of it just makes you laugh your ass off. Like it's really funny, and it's very like millennial angsty kind of stuff. So I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. I'm hoping I'm going to stumble across one of these burner accounts one of these days.
You'll never know. It's me.
I'll never know, but I just hope that I am blessed with its presence one day, just so I can laugh and wonder if it is or is not.
Like, and I made it too. Like, I mean, my burner accounts follow me, of course, but that would be too obvious. So my burner accounts follow a lot of people as well. So, because I don't want it to be that obvious. So I really put thought in, because again, when you have like, I think I'm 530 something now, and there's sometimes I just can't say what I want to. And also I don't want to say something and then TikTok please ban me because I was, called somebody an idiot or worse. So I have to
honestly, like I hate to be honest and get punished for it.
Yeah, TikTok doesn't like honesty. So, and that's a different discussion for a different day. That is how we get ourselves shut down. But anyway, so yeah, that's why. Huh?
I said you need to go to bed, and I'm kidnapping you. I feel like.
No, you're fine. if my normal followers know that I'll say I got to go to bed, and then like an hour later I'm still here. So like I thought you were going to bed, and I'm like, yeah, I'm full of shit. So but no, this has been great. I'm happy to do this. Anytime that you want to do it, talk about it. Again, I know that you're not going to take the credit for it like you should until you're ready to do that, but you really should. Once you get to that point, it's nice because like in your mind, like you're trying to be humble, like I get it, but in your mind, that you're the one that brought optics on it. You're the one that put in this hard work to bring attention to it, to make it happen, and you should own that because that's something very admirable, something to really be proud of, truthfully. So,
well, I appreciate that. It's I think it's the part of me that didn't get the justice I wanted in my own case that I kind of feel, it's therapeutic for me to, one, teach people about the criminal justice system and sociology and legal stuff. And I love that stuff. It's obviously what I went to school for, but and then I worked in it and I still do that kind of stuff, so I love it. But it's therapeutic for me, having been through what I went through to do these kinds of things. And so for me, it's more like a thank God someone's going to get justice, and it helps me deal.
Yeah, you went quiet on us. There you're back. You went quiet for a second.
Oh, my phone was ringing. I'll have to answer this phone call in a minute. But I was just saying that it's therapeutic for me, having lost a family member at the hands of someone else to try to help get justice in other cases. So that's really why I enjoy teaching people about the system, but my reward is trying to get just a little bit of justice for somebody that didn't get it.
Yeah, well, you're giving a voice to people who don't have a voice. Even at 2 years old, even if she was alive and was still an abuse victim, she wouldn't have her own voice. So you're giving a voice to somebody who deserves it, and who was abused and taken by the people who were supposed to protect her, and that's inexcusable. And I'm imagining like Arkansas has the death penalty, and I hope that they go for that. So they probably won't, but it'd be nice if they did. Women typically they don't go to the death penalty for.
It would be nice, and see, that's one of the things about this case is one of the first things I noticed was that they didn't have the death penalty on the table for Jordan, and immediately I was like, they obviously have an issue with this case because this is the South, and when we like the death penalty. And I would love for this case to get big and for her to get charged with murder and for her to get the life that she deserves.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and I agree with the statement too. Yeah, in the South, we love to kill people. Like, just put them to death. Let's, in fact, and we want it to be brutal. Like, we don't even want to do the lethal injection. We want it to be a malfunctioning electric chair or something. So firing squad. What Idaho apparently recently, just for fun fact, Idaho apparently in recent years took firing squad off the table. Just so you're aware.
There's places that there are places that still have it. That is for sure.
Yeah. Well, I won't keep you
for sure.
Do the call, but I appreciate everything. I'm glad that I'm able to lend a platform, and I'll do my best to get caught up. But I'll try to bring attention to a little bit more to and get some more people involved who don't know about it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
No, my pleasure. All right. Well, have a great night, everybody. Thank you all for joining and hanging out. Like I said, make sure to go follow the SoJo Files if you don't already. And yeah, we'll do this again soon.
We will do this again. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.